When it comes to managing our stage fright and speaking with more confidence, the easiest way to do that is to simply prepare. And you know that already. The more we prepare, the more familiar we'll be with our content and the easier it will be to actually speak with confidence. But many times, a few things can happen. Firstly, we might not have the luxury to prepare. Or, for some of us, even if we do prepare, we still tend to feel very, very jittery when we go on stage. So, what do we do then? We're going to go through 4 methods that start all the way from our mindset and our approach to communications, break it down by the venue that we will be speaking at, and eventually talk about understanding our own style, which really helps us reduce our stage fright and speak with more impact. Hey, my name is Rudeep, and I love learning about effective communications and sharing those learnings with you so that you can level up your communications game as well. Okay, the very first thing to start off with is our mindset. When it comes to approaching communications, there are certain things that we get fundamentally wrong. The first thing is that if you're nervous, the most common thing people tell us is to just take in deep breaths before you go on stage. And for so many people, that just does not work. Instead, what works much better is to just firstly tell ourselves that, okay, we're nervous, and to accept that nervousness. And this helps us create a lot more mental room that allows us to deal with the situation at hand as opposed to wasting our mental energy trying to fight our nervousness. And the second thing we need to do is to shift the focus from ourselves onto the audience. The reason why so many of us fear the stage is because public speaking is all about me, me, me. What if I screw up on stage? What if people don't find me worthy enough? What if they laugh at me? And we forget that public speaking is not about the speaker, it's always about the audience. And as long as we come with the intention to provide as much value as we can to whoever it is that we might be speaking to, we can come from a much more grounded and authentic space as opposed to worrying about how we're coming across, how we're looking, or whether we might forget a line or two. The second part is more to do with the venue that we'll be speaking at. And this is a very, very simple thing that helps us reduce our stage fright, but it's not addressed very often. And that simply is to reach your venue earlier. And yeah, when I say it comes across as obvious, but so many times I've seen people who are very, very nervous the night before a speech and they're late for their presentation. And they come on stage and they're very frantic and they're sweaty. And of course, they're going to start off from a place that's so much more frantic. But if we reach the venue early, there are 3 things that we can do. The first is a very basic tech check. Are our slides working fine? Is our mic all right? Are the lights doing okay? Are they too bright for us or are they just enough for us? Whatever it might be. The second thing it helps us do is we can walk around on the stage before the event begins. And this helps us get a lot more familiar with the space that we're going to be addressing the crowd with. And this in turn makes us less nervous when we go on stage to speak because we're already a little more familiar with the stage. And to some people, this might sound a little silly, that how can walking on stage before the speech begins actually help with our nervousness? But please, if you were to try that, it really, really does work. And it works because familiarity breeds comfort. The more familiar we are with the space, the more comfortable we will be with it. And the last thing that reaching early helps us do is we can also engage in a meet and greet with the audience. A lot of us who are nervous on stage are probably introverted in nature. And to put ourselves from our practice room right onto the stage might be a little discomforting. But if we were to reach a little early, we can simply meet the audience, shake hands with a few people, introduce ourselves, and this slowly helps push ourselves out of our comfort zone so that when we do go on stage, we're a lot more warmed up. Point number 3 is something known as redirection tools. As I said before, familiarity breeds comfort. The longer we are on stage, the easier it gets on us. But in the middle of our speech or presentation, how do we continue being on stage while moving our point forward, keeping the audience engaged, but moving the focus away from us? That's where redirection tools come into the picture. In very simple terms, they basically mean taking the audience's attention onto something else. So maybe playing a video, playing an audio clip, doing an activity with the audience, doing a poll, getting volunteers onto the stage, anything that shifts the focus away from you and still helps to move the point forward while keeping the audience engaged. And this helps us stay on stage for longer, which in turn helps us reduce our nervousness. And the fourth and last point is to understand our own style. It's crucial that we know ourselves as much as we can to avoid feeling nervous. On a very practical level, this means prepping yourself even beyond your actual speech. For instance, are you the kind of person who likes having known faces in the crowd? If so, get your friends or family members to sit in different parts of the audience. On the other hand, if you're like me and you don't like having people you know in the audience, avoid inviting anybody else, or even if you have, request them to not show up during your speech if that is at all possible. Even knowing simple things that might seem ridiculous to other people, like are there certain shirts or suits that you can wear that make you feel more confident? Or do you prefer holding onto a mic or having a collar mic? Whatever your little preferences are, if we can get them right before the speech begins, it'll help us with our stage fright management. And that's about it. 4 ways besides preparation that help us manage our stage fright and speak with more confidence. Hopefully this has helped. If you have any more questions around things like public speaking or communications, we have an entire website with in-depth articles and resources dedicated just for that. So go check out franticallyspeaking.com. And if you do have a speech for the first time, and even after watching these points are incredibly nervous, watch this video right here. We'll cover some more points that will go into what it takes to appear a lot less nervous when you go on stage.